Jordan Love just signed a massive extension with the Packers last summer, and it's obvious that Green Bay thinks he can lead them to another Super Bowl win, so I'm gonna make sure that happens in this rebuild. I have 5 seasons to build a team around Jordan Love to win the Super Bowl, and reaching certain goals and winning key games throughout the rebuild will earn a spin on the stat wheel for us, which gives us different stats we can upgrade for Jordan Love. If I cannot complete this challenge in 5 seasons, however, I will gift 1 copy of Madden 26 to a lucky subscriber who comments down below on this video telling me how you think Jordan Love will perform in the upcoming season. Our goal for season number 1 was to make the playoffs, but before that started, we had a wheel spin for Jordan Love's attribute upgrades, and we would get +5 speed, so our young quarterback would get that headed into the start of the season. That attribute upgrade didn't seem to be helping us at all in our season opener though, as we were getting blown out 38-10 against the Eagles in our season opener all the way in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Jordan Love would connect with Dontavian Wicks here for a late garbage time touchdown in the game, but this is not the way we wanted our rebuild to start at all, and Jordan Love would have to play a lot better than this if he wanted to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. We would simulate to the half point of season number 1 and Jordan Love would get another attribute upgrade, but it was a very rocky start to the season for our quarterback to say the least. Season 1 already seeming to be a wash, we would sim to the end of the regular season where we would fail to make the playoffs, ending season number 1 with an 8-9 record. If there ever was a Jordan Love stat line, 37 touchdowns to 27 interceptions definitely was one. But despite his up and down play, Jordan Love would receive one more upgrade this season. After the Eagles defeated the Ravens in the Super Bowl, it was time for our first offseason, and we had some key re-signings we needed to make, including the most important of all, re-signing Jordan Love. In the offseason, we had 3 different targets we were going after, with defense being the primary area of need we needed to upgrade, as well as our offensive line to protect Jordan Love. We would land center Ryan Kelly and left outside linebacker Matthew Judon in free agency, but would lose out on cornerback Paulson Adebo, who would go to New York, so we would then target free agent Isaiah Rodgers, who would end up signing to come play for Green Bay next season. It was now time for our very first NFL draft with the Green Bay Packers in this rebuild, and our first ever pick was right guard Hunter Gillespie, who we might have struck gold on with a hidden dev trait. Our second round pick looked like an Italian mobster right out of a movie, but who cares if he has mob affiliations, because that's another hidden development trait. Our third round pick in Deshaun Thomas was great in true value, even though he was only a normal development trait, and then our last couple picks in the draft were a little bit of a reach, but that is bound to happen on day 3 of the draft. Our first round pick, Hunter Gillespie, was coming in at a 74 overall, and our third round pick, Deshaun Thomas, was coming in at a 73. Both of these rookies would be starting for us headed into season 2, as they were filling major gaps on the roster that we needed to have filled. It was the start of season number 2, so that meant we had another wheel spin to add on stats for Jordan Love, and it would be another speed upgrade for our young quarterback, as he would get +2 to his speed. We were starting season 2 of our Packers rebuild and looking to have a much better year than last season. Coming off a disappointing 8-9 record, we missed the playoffs entirely, so we had to make sure we didn't miss the playoffs 2 years in a row. We were already in danger of losing our first game of the season, as we were down by 7 with just over 2 minutes to go, but thankfully Jordan Love would get us down the field, and a handoff to Josh Jacobs would find his way into the end zone, and with our defense getting a stop to start overtime against the Steelers, we had a chance to win this game on the road to start off season 2. Inside Steelers territory now, play action, Jordan Love would drop back to throw, and he would go across the left side to Jaden Reed, getting us down inside the 20-yard line, where once again it would be Josh Jacobs taking it into the end zone for us, sealing the overtime victory in week 1 against the Steelers, with Jordan Love having a fantastic performance for us. Not only would that performance get him another skill point upgrade, but it would earn us another spin on the wheel, as Jordan Love threw for over 300 yards and would now be getting a +2 upgrade to his medium accuracy. Halfway through season number 2 of the rebuild, Green Bay was sitting at 5-2, and this stat line looked so much better for Jordan Love than it did at the halfway point last season. Our one problem was that we were $44 million in debt though, and could not re-sign any of our players, so as we advanced to the end of the regular season, we would have to restructure those contracts in the upcoming offseason. We went from missing the playoffs in year 1 to landing the #1 seed in the NFC in season number 2, and Jordan Love put up MVP numbers, throwing for almost 5,000 yards and 39 touchdowns. That performance, combined with his team earning the #1 seed, would land us another spin on the attribute wheel, and although it wasn't much, Jordan Love would get +2 to his acceleration. We had made the playoffs for the the very first time in this rebuild, and we were at home playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'd also secured a first-round bye with the first overall seed, but so far, our offense wasn't playing like that. We had a chance to take the lead before halftime, but couldn't convert on 4th down, and then Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers would take the lead in the second half. Now down by 2 possessions, we needed a touchdown here on 4th and goal, but our defense just couldn't get a stop as we were now down by 15 with 30 seconds to go, and there was just nothing we could do to come back and win this game against the Buccaneers, as Season 2 would come to a disappointing end in the divisional round, despite Jordan Love having a 258-yard game. The Buccaneers would go on to the Super Bowl, but would lose to the Indianapolis Colts, and if we wanted to make any moves in this offseason, we had to restructure a lot of contracts. Despite having the cap space now, that didn't seem to help us in re-signing, as we would lose both our top receivers, Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. So in free agency, receiver would be our #1 target, as we'd go after Jameson Williams, and we would have at least one receiver spot filled back on the roster. It was now time for the 2026 NFL Draft in this Packers rebuild, and we struck gold with the second best player in the draft with our pick at number 27, even though he was only a normal development rate. We would strike gold again in the second round with Tyrese Mayweather, a wide receiver, and this time our draft pick would have a hidden development rate. The 3rd through 6th round picks were definitely some reaches on our part, but our first round pick DeAndre Richmond was coming in at a 79 overall, and Tyrese Mayweather was coming in at a 72 overall. We also drafted a 6th round receiver, Dominic Brown, who was a 71 overall, and we somehow found another hidden development trait receiver that late in the draft. Both Mayweather and Brown would be seeing the field for us this season as rookies, and DeAndre Richmond would be starting at cornerback as well, but we had to make a move before that. We needed to clear up cap space, so we were looking to trade Jair Alexander, and as tempting as trading for DJ Moore would be, this offer by the Eagles caught my eyes, and since we needed a defensive tackle, we would trade Jair Alexander for Jalen Carter and a 4th and 7th from Philly, clearing the way for our rookie DeAndre Richmond to now be our #2 cornerback. Heading into season number 3 meant it was time for another wheel spin for Jordan Love, and yet again that would be another upgrade to his speed, as we were looking to once again make the playoffs in season number 3. We were starting season number 3 of the Packers rebuild, and we're on the road taking on the New York Jets. And headed into this season, Jordan Love had upgraded to a superstar ability. Hopefully that meant his numbers would be even better than they had been the past 2 seasons, and we would see even more wins on the board, as he would get us started with 2 touchdown passes already in the first half today. Our offense would seem to stall out in the 3rd quarter against the Jets though, and at the 2-minute warning, we now found ourselves down by 5, but Jordan Love would connect with our rookie receiver Mayweather, who would take this all the way to the house for his first career touchdown. Tyrese Mayweather, our 2nd round pick in last year's draft, showing why we took him in the 2nd round. But unfortunately, our defense could not get a stop, as we only had 1 timeout left. Jordan Love would throw up a prayer down the field, and it would be completed, giving us one last chance to try to win the game here, but Musgraves couldn't hold on to that, and unfortunately, the Jets would walk away with a 32-25 last-second victory here in week number 1. Halfway through season 3, we were not off to a hot start, sitting at 4-3 on the year, but Jordan Love was having a fantastic season, already throwing for 24 touchdowns in 7 games. We would make sure some of his targets stayed around for next season as well, as we would re-sign Jaden Reed and Quay Walker, along with Kenny Clark, to stay on the defensive line with Jalen Carter. After sitting at 4-3 in the halfway point of the season, we needed to get a win here against the Panthers, as I wanted to try to turn around our season, but it wasn't looking good for us early on in this one. Down by 10 in the 4th quarter, we would cut it to only a 7-point lead, as Jordan Love would get us down inside the red zone, and then on 1st and goal, he would complete this to Jaden Reed for a touchdown, tying the game up. But once again, we would have one last shot to try to win a game on the last play, and Jordan Love would be intercepted, but we would force a fumble, but it wouldn't matter, as the clock would run out, and once again, we would lose a heartbreaker on the last play of the game. One positive to come from that loss was Jordan Love did get another attribute upgrade, and we would sim to the end of the regular season praying we could turn things around and make the playoffs. And that is exactly what we do, as we would squeak in with the 4th seed, thanks to Jordan Love having a historic season with 53 touchdowns and only 14 interceptions. We had made it back to the playoffs for the 2nd season in a row in the Packers rebuild, but unlike last season when we were the #1 seed, we squeaked in as the number 4 seed in this year's playoffs. Thankfully, that meant we still got home field advantage here in the wildcard round against the New Orleans Saints, but they were doing their best to make this a tight game as we were down by 3. With that Josh Jacobs touchdown, all we needed now was a stop on 4th and 10 and we would get it, securing the 4-point victory here in the wildcard round, and that would send us to the divisional round where we would be taking on the 10-7 New York Giants on the road. We would get off to a quick start as Jordan Love would help us score on our first possession, but New York was not far behind as they tied back up at 7 apiece. We had a chance to go up by 2 possessions before halftime and would do just that, but in the 4th quarter, the Giants, only down by 1 possession, were looking to tie it back up, and after settling for a field goal, all we would need was a first down on this 3rd and 10, but instead, we would get a touchdown, helping us secure yet another playoff victory this season, and we would now find ourselves in the NFC Championship for the very first time in this rebuild. Philadelphia had made it all the way from the very last seed to the playoffs to playing in the NFC Championship against us. So thankfully for us, that meant that we got home field advantage against them. After just barely making that field goal, we would go up 10-3 and Luke Musgraves would make it 17-3, and things were looking up for us headed into the start of the 4th quarter. That would quickly change, however, as we were only up by 3 and needed a first down to secure the win tonight, and Josh Jacobs would do just that with that 18-yard rush for us, defeating the Eagles and winning our first NFC Championship of this rebuild, and in Season 3 sending us to the Super Bowl where we would be taking on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Before that though, since we had 3 playoff wins, that meant 3 wheel spins for Jordan Love, and the first of 3 would get +5 to his awareness. The second spin for winning the NFC Divisional Round game would give us +5 speed, and the third and final spin for winning the NFC Conference Championship would give him +5 awareness. We were in the Super Bowl for the first time in this rebuild, and we had a chance to complete the challenge we had in only 3 seasons instead of 5. Early on, this game was looking good for us as we were up 7-0, and with over a minute and a half left to go in the first quarter, Jordan Love would make it 14-0, but unfortunately, we would lose out on an opportunity for points here before halftime, making it only a 4-point game with just over 10 seconds to go, but Jaden Reed would beat the Kansas City defense deep for a touchdown. But as you know, any lead against Patrick Mahomes is never a lead that is safe. Kansas City would take their first lead of the night, and Jordan Love was now looking to take the lead back for us as he would connect with Jaden Reed for a touchdown. As we now had the scary task ahead of us of trying to stop Patrick Mahomes, but we would force a fumble, and it was Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle who we traded for at the start of the season, picking up the fumble for a touchdown. That play showing us it was probably the correct move to trade Jair Alexander, and after another field goal, all we needed was this first down to clinch the Super Bowl, and Josh Jacobs would do exactly that for us, as we had taken Jordan Love and the Packers all the way to the Super Bowl in Season 3, completing our goal of finally bringing home the Lombardi Trophy.